Dennis McVicker, author of Boil the Frog. I'm back. I got a beard. It's cold. Easy for running. Went for my run today. I'm going to talk about my supplements first. Happy Friday, first of all. Cheers. Get my cup full before we go ahead. So, my supplements start first thing in the morning. The first thing I take is creatine monohydrate. I use Total Beets and Beyond Greens. That's the drink. This is a hydrogen bottle. You just activate it and it produces excess hydrogen in your water, making your supplements absorb much better. It also improves your brain elasticity, which makes you think better. Here's what my pills look like. It's a lot of them. They barely fit in here. I could not add. See, you can't even hear them moving because they're stuck in there. I could not possibly add any more to my pills. I had I had to take some antibiotics a couple weeks ago, and I had to store a couple pills outside. I had them all in the bag here, so I can show them to you. This is my bag of supplements. And I do want to point out something right away. Not one single pill. I can never see which direction I'm going. Not one single pill in there is prescription. And people are like, well, why do you take all those pills? I was like, because I don't need any prescription medication at all. First of all, this is fish oil, 1,200 milligrams, 360 milligrams of omega 3. Very important. That's this one, it's 3 times a day, but I take it morning and evening. That seems to be just fine for me. I'm going to go in order of how I have to put them. I had to put them in the pill thing in a certain order, otherwise I can't get them to fit. The second is all these. If you have questions about what they're for or anything, you can type a question, or I mean, you can just Google it. I mean, check out the fish oil. Second one is magnesium malate 400. I do stress the malate part because regular magnesium can be used as a laxative, but the malate seems to be just gives you the benefits of taking the magnesium without the side effects of, you know, working like a laxative when you don't need it to be a laxative. This is L-arginine with citrulline. These are amino acids. This one also has beetroot powder in it, which I didn't know prior to, oh, that was my bottle. 3 minutes. Now the bottle's ready to go. I didn't know this had beetroot powder before I added beetroot powder. I'm talking to my buddy at work, Estel, about it at one of the company parties, and he said it's practically cheating. It just gives you so much energy. I'm like, all right, I'm for that. It's true. It gives you a lot of energy. This grass-fed beef liver. This is my first bottle of this, so I can't really speak to the efficacy or the effects of this yet. But I do know my hair. It's basically good for your hair, skin, and nails. Um, Also good for your liver. Good liver supplement. You know, in case you drink alcohol, it's good for your liver. This is nicotinamide with resveratrol. You got these two combinations together seem to help with aging and regeneration of cells. So, and I've been taking it for a while, and my general rule with supplements is take it, then stop taking it, if it's new, take it, use the whole thing, then stop taking it. And if you feel different, then it was effective. And I did that with this, and it's effective. It has an effect. Here's my multivitamin. This is 2 per day. When I started, I did I took them both at once, and every morning I was like, why do I have such a bad stomach ache? And even recently, I would take one in the morning and then take one at lunch. After I was like, oh, I think I'm. And then it said, and then I read the directions, and it was basically like, don't take them at the same time. Take them. So then I went to lunch, and it still kind of gave me that stomach ache. So I was like, well, perfect. Then switch it day and night. So I get to take one in the morning, take one in the evening after dinner or before dinner. This is HMB. I don't know if you remember the P90X guy. I can't remember his name. Well, he had this basically like all his muscles just started failing, and he could barely even move. And that guy used to be super ripped. I think he's in his 60s now, and he's like basically. I found out that after a certain age, your muscles just break down, and they need this supplement. And he sold it as. I always go the wrong way. He put it in a protein powder, and he was selling it as a protein powder with this, and it helps your muscles. And first off, I don't like protein powders. Back when I was strictly monitoring my calories, which I don't do at all anymore because I don't have to. But when I was strictly monitoring them, I switched to protein powder. I even deducted the calories I was taking, and all it did was make me gain fat. That is the only effect I ever got from protein powder. So I just stopped taking protein powders altogether. I don't have it with me. It's called Perfect Amino. It's the same effect. Well, it's the effect that protein powders say they give you with zero fat gain. It's just 5 pills. And I take those right before my workout instead of protein powder. This is for older people like me. Glucosamine chondroitin, MSM, and turmeric. Triple thing formula. This is for joints and ligaments, and no, I don't think it's ligaments. I take it for my joints, but it has shellfish in it. So if you're allergic to shellfish, there are alternatives to this specific one. I used to take a different one, which was less pills per day, which I preferred, but now I take them two at a time. 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening. Same as the grass-fed beef liver. This is also for milk thistle. It's also for liver support. And this is the I used to crave when I first started getting into greens like broccoli and spinach. I was like gobbling it up. Like, oh my god. I thought I hated broccoli. I thought I hated spinach. I just could not get enough of it. And all that stuff is loaded with vitamin K. This Super K has also vitamin C, vitamin K1, vitamin K2, vitamin K2, two forms of vitamin K2 and K1. But after I started taking these, I stopped like gorging on spinach and broccoli. Like that's what my body wanted, was the vitamin K out of that. If you don't like broccoli, you can just take that Super K pill. But I wanted to talk about a video I saw from Autopsy Doctor. He said he did about 1,200 to 1,700 autopsies, and every single person he examined that was listed as died from natural causes had some form of vitamin deficiency, including there was a famous NBA star. He was like 4% body fat, just peak physical condition, and he just dropped one day. And during his autopsy, they found a severe selenium deficiency, which is in here. I used to take selenium, like I bought selenium immediately after I heard that story, but it's in this 2 per day multivitamin. You can look up this brand on. I got it on Amazon. You can. I always turn the wrong direction. Right, look. This brand is on Amazon. You can look up all the vitamins that are on there. Like I said, that doctor said every natural cause he ever examined had some kind of vitamin deficiency. So everyone should be taking their vitamins every day, especially if you're over 40 or 30. Or slowing down. All right, so those are my supplements. Like I said, I take the one in the morning with that drink I make with the hydrogen water. Also, I use grounding. I use grounding on my sheets. I have a grounding pad on my desk. I have a grounding pad in my chair. It basically just eliminates inflammation from your body. That I mean, I usually don't tell people that because then they start arguing with you. It's like, well, that's stupid. Well, okay. I wasn't telling you to do it. I'm telling you what works for me. So I've noticed the definite difference from the hydrogen water. I mean, I use it to make my coffee. I use it to drink water. I use it to make my drinks. I use it for everything. I got one here and I got one at the office. And I only use spring water. Like I don't use tap water. Even at work, I bring bottles of my own spring water at work because you just never know what's in the city water. Like you just never know. It's usually, I mean, it's got fluoride in it. Okay, those are all the supplements I take. I'm in pretty good shape. Feel pretty good. Think I look pretty good. Doing pretty good. That's diet and exercise right there. Okay. Topic 2. The biggest lie. I want to talk about the biggest lie that we bought because it was so easy to accept was that it's not our fault. Like people are like, oh well, especially when they talk about alcoholics. It's like, well, it's not your fault. It's a disease. Like, I disagree. I disagree. It's a choice because I've quit. I've quit drinking, and I started turning into my dad, who was an alcoholic who quit drinking, and he was a miserable person, and he hated life, and he hated existence, basically. So I was like, I don't want to turn into that. I'd rather just drink in moderation, make me a better person. If that shaves a couple years off my life, fine. He died when he was 60, so, that didn't really help him out quitting drinking at all. The biggest lie is that it's not your fault. Like, I will give you, if you were put in a situation like you've had trauma or you had something bad happen to you or you were assaulted or anything. I'm not saying that was your fault. That is not your fault. Where you went from there and what you did about it is your fault if it was not good. You can't just hold on to something and say, well, that's why. That's why. It's like, no. That's step one. You're like, okay, that's why. Great. Now you know it. That's why. Now you got to work through that. It wasn't your fault how you got there, but it's your responsibility where you go from there. That's why it's the biggest lie because it's so easy to accept. And it's like, well, I'm a failure because that happened. I'm a failure because that happened. I can't lose weight because that happened. I can't do anything because that happened. No, you've identified the problem. Now you need to work on it. It's as simple as that. It's one of my favorite analogies, especially as a screenwriter, is if you look at the backstory of a hero and a villain, they're almost always identical. The hero and the villain have virtual identical backgrounds. The only difference is the choice they made. When something bad happened to the villain, he wanted to make sure everyone suffered as much as he did. When the hero suffered, he wanted to make sure no one ever felt that way, the way he did. And he's going to make sure nobody feels the way he did. And he makes the choice. So if you're playing the victim, like this happened to me, I can't do anything, you're stuck there. You're not stuck there. It's your choice what to do about it. You can just sit there and do nothing and blame it the rest of your life and be miserable, or you can do something about it. And something is anything. Most likely it's leveling up. Leveling up, doing little comfort zone exercises, like topic 4, what I'm going to talk about is the voice. Doing comfort zone exercises. If you don't want to do something, you're uncomfortable doing it, and you're trying to better yourself, you should do the things you don't want to do. That's what's going to give you confidence. It's going to make you feel better about yourself. That's one thing I wrote about in the book was daily accomplishments. Like, do something, challenge yourself every day. Do something outside your comfort zone, like go for a run or do the laundry. I don't know. They're little challenges you make for yourself. I mean, It's for each person to decide. That's the biggest lie. It's not your fault you got where you are. And that's what the take control of your life part about Boil a Frog is. It's like, okay, this is where we are. This is what we got. This is what we're dealing with. Now, I'm taking over and we're going to get better and we're going to improve ourselves and we're going to become unrecognizable to the people who used to know us. That's leveling up. That's Boil the Frog. That's taking control of your life. If you're stuck in a situation, you're not stuck there. You've just identified the problem and you refuse to address it. That's a little segue into 6 Days, 7 Nights. This is topic number 3. It's about the movie 6 Days, 7 Nights with Harrison Ford, Anne Heche, David Schwimmer, and Jacqueline Oberdoors. Jacqueline Oberdoors, for the fellas, he's wearing a bikini that David Schwimmer thought was an eye patch. So that's one incentive to watch the movie. Another is a really great movie. Some people labeled it as a terrible Harrison Ford movie. I'm like, well, yeah, if you're used to him as Air Force One and, Indiana Jones and Han Solo, like, yeah, he wasn't that character in this movie, but that doesn't make it a bad movie. I love that movie. It's a great movie. But the reason why I bring it up is the segue is he's like, how do you want it? Do you want it sugar coated or right between the eyes? And I was like, I don't know any other version other than right between the eyes. And I've had people quite upset with me because I have right between their eyes them to their face, and they're like, "What's your problem?" I'm like, "I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to tell you like directly what the problem is," and they get upset about it. It's like, well, I don't want to know the problem because then I'll know it and I'll have to fix it. It's just another reason people tell me to shut up, which is why I was so quiet most of my life. Is people tell me to shut up, stop talking, stop saying that stuff. I'm like, it's the truth. So that's one reason I brought up 6 Days, 7 Nights. The other is there's a great line when Harrison Ford's talking to Anne Heche, and she's there with David Schwimmer's character. Anne Heche and David Schwimmer go there on vacation together. They're at a tropical island for 6 days and 7 nights. She's describing it as like, oh, we're here. He's my fiance. We're trying, and Harrison's like, you're trying to rekindle romance and do all this stuff, and he's basically like, it's an island. Like, if you didn't bring it here, we probably don't have it here. And I was like, if you really dove deep into that statement, it's like you are responsible for 90%, probably even more, of your happiness. You regulate your happiness. You are your own island. If you're not happy inside, you're not going to find it outside. You're your own island. You have to produce your own happiness. Nobody else can do it for you. Nobody else. The, no material possession is going to do it for you. Money isn't going to do it for you. Until you figure yourself out, you're not going to get happiness from outside. You got to look within yourself. That's where your happiness is. And I thought it was a pretty deep analogy that it's like, well, that's pretty good. It's up to you to bring the good mood. It's up to you to bring the happiness. It's up to you to put in the effort. I just had a thought. And it went right out the window. Oh, I was going to say something else. Jim Carrey, who I admit is way out there by now, but that's a whole other story. He had a great quote, and that was, I wish everyone could become rich and famous so they could see that that's not the answer. And that's what I'm talking about, is Jim Carrey, superstar, millionaire, two-time Golden Globe winner Jim Carrey, superstar. Happiness isn't in those things. You got to find it within yourself, and you really got to go deep. I remember Jordan Peterson was saying you got to burn like 95% of who you are away to become the perfect you and find out who you are. And I remember at one point I was like, that's absolutely true, because when I got all the way down, I broke all the way down. Like, I got down to, at my lowest, I think I was about 145 pounds, and I was about 5% body fat. I cut myself all the way down to nothing to start over. broke myself down to build myself up. Unlike the Navy, who preaches that during their entire boot camps, like, no, we break you down to build you up. And I was like, I got a lot of the first part, and I got my DD 214 waiting on the second part, and I never got the second part. I never saw the build you back up part. I never saw that. That's just generational curse personified right there. It's like, well, they yelled at me, so now I get to yell at you. Okay. So, last one, The Voice. Last show I ended with, I wanna go for The Voice. I can do it. I know I can do it. Well, I didn't. I auditioned twice actually. They did a run in September, and I guess they didn't find enough people for next season because they were like, okay, we're doing another one. And then a month later, on I think the first one was September 27th, and then the next one was October 24th, and I did one then. And the first one was a great accomplishment. Like, I was so nervous. I was like, I know this ain't gonna work, but I was doing it just to do it. It was a total comfort zone exercise. I had no reservation that I was gonna be picked. I'm like, I'm just gonna audition. That's kind of like when you start exercising. It's like, it's not about how fast you're going. It's like, just do the work. Just run the mile or walk the mile. Just finish. Your pace doesn't matter. So that's how I treated the first audition, which was so nerve wracking. I don't know why. There was no one watching me. I mean, it was just a camera. Is this camera, this computer, this microphone? I mean, all in my room, in this room. So, and I was still, like I said, back to Dennis. Shut up, Dennis. Stop talking. It's like totally. I don't know if you guys are into chakras or not, but totally blocked my throat chakra, which is completely wide open now after my second audition. The first audition, I literally broke out into a sweat immediately after that, like pouring down cold sweat. And I was telling Jen about it, and I broke down emotionally. Like, I started crying because I was so proud of myself. And I'm gonna do it now. Damn it, don't do it. I'm not gonna do it now. But the second time, even though I didn't make it, it was also a victory because the first time I was just trying to get through it. I was trying to do it. The second time, I let it go. Like, I I sang "Lose Control" by Teddy Swims, and I sang it like it wasn't like it. I sang that song. I did not break out in a cold sweat. I was not even worried about it beforehand. I was like, I've done this already. The worst they can say is no, which they did. And by the way, the first time they said no in like 20 minutes. They were like, yeah, no. The second time they said no, I was getting excited to the point I was staying up. I kept waiting. I kept refreshing my email, refresh, refresh, refresh. And like 4 hours later, I think it was like 11:40 at night, I finally got the email saying no, sorry. So I don't know if they were just really fast the first time or the second time they were like kind of on the fence about it. Not, in my mind, that's what happened. The first time they were like, yeah, no. The second time they were like, just makes me think they like the first guy saw it and he's like, maybe, and he passed it on to someone else, maybe. I don't know. That's what happened in my mind. Anyway, I made him think about it the second time, but it was still a no. But like I said, everything with comfort zone exercise is just about doing that thing. It's not about being good the first time you do it. It's kind of like a podcast, I'm my first show was not that great, I'm sure. My 10th show is not that great either, but I'm working on it, and I'm more comfortable doing. I mean, this is I was scared to do this before I did the voice audition, but no, this is nothing. Like, I before I had anxiety about my first live show. I'm like, oh no. But now I was like, this is nothing. Like, I'm just talking. I'm not I'm not reaching down in my soul for a crushing performance. I mean, like, that you got to go somewhere when you sing, like with everything you got. You got to go somewhere. And I wasn't sure I could let go in front of other people. And Jen let me try it out in front of her, which was, I mean, even that was scary, but I got through it. But in regards to the voice, no, they did not select me. Which reminds me of I shared this video. It was from the Olympics. It was father and daughter, and it was such a good video. I mean, she didn't make the medals, and she was obviously disappointed. And he's talking to her about it. And he's comforting her. And I think they were from France because they definitely had accents, but not for sure. I shared the video. It's on Boil the Frog, and she at one point they were discussing it, and then she said it just wasn't meant to be, and he goes like, no, it wasn't meant to be today, and that's how I feel about the voice. Whenever you try something and fail, don't just leave it at it wasn't meant to be. You add that today to the end of that. It just wasn't meant to be today. Keep going, and even the voice says no from us right now. We would love for you to audition again. Keep trying. You always keep trying. Like I said, the worst they can say is no. So what? It's not a failure. If you really tried and did your best. I got a voice strengthener since I sing better since I sang my second audition, which I thought was pretty good. In fact, I told Craig and Jeremy I nailed that thing. After that, I was like, well, let me start listening. I was like, oh, I hear a little thing in my voice, and I found this. It's something called Better Voice, and you can adjust the strength, and you sing into this thing, and it's basically like lifting weights for your voice. It provides resistance and strengthens your voice, and it has made a huge difference in just a month. I think I sing like 2 or 3 times better than I did the second audition. So it's just not meant to be right now, but next audition comes up, I'm gonna try again until they say yes, and I may go on the show, I may not. I just want to see the yes from them. That would be a great accomplishment. But I'm rolling into my lazy time of the year, like November, December, all the holidays and Christmas. I said I was gonna go live Saturday morning, and you'll see what I was like. I'm gonna do my supplements, and I'm like, oh, I gotta get them all together and describe what they are. I was like, I didn't feel like doing that on a Saturday morning, so I didn't. So I skipped it. I was like, well, I'll do it Friday. But as always, if you have any questions about Boil the Frog or stuff I talk about, disagreements, I like disagreements. I like debates. I don't like pointless arguments. If you better be open to admit that you're wrong. You always be ready to say, you know what, you're right. I was wrong. Always be ready to say that. But all right, remember, challenge yourself every single day. If you don't, the world will. I'd rather face adversity on my own terms. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining.